specific to this mountain are its truly challenging climbing sections that require actual skill. Unlike Everest, there are no ladders to help you cross over deep crevasses, so you either have to create new alternate routes or have previously competed in the long jump. There also aren't hundreds of climbers that you can follow to its peak, since you and your crew will more than likely be the only ones on the entire mountain. Now, at first, you might think this sounds like a benefit, since you won't have to deal with the long line at the peak. But think again. This also means that in an emergency, it would be highly unlikely that you would ever receive any outside help, thanks to the mountain's extremely remote location. But perhaps the most terrifying thing about this mountain is its severe weather changes that come without warning. Heavy rainfall, wind, and snow can show up within minutes and can quickly turn deadly. And even if you're one of the lucky few who reach the top of the mountain, you still wouldn't be allowed to step foot on its summit, since the mountain is considered sacred by the locals. Doing so would not only be extremely disrespectful, but would also guarantee you a solo descent to the bottom. Number 3, Nanga Parbat. Nanga Parbat, better known as the Killer Mountain, is located deep in the mountains of Pakistan. It is the 9th highest mountain on Earth, with a whopping fatality rate of around 22%. Now, at first glance, the mountain looks pathetic, and even looks like a mountain you could climb with a good night's sleep. But boy, would you be wrong. The mountain has only been successfully summited by 261 people and has claimed the lives of 62, many of whose bodies remain on the mountain to this day. Some lay deep in crevasses, while others remain on the side of the trail. Like on many of the tall mountains, removing and carrying the bodies down is just too dangerous, and they will more than likely remain on the mountain until we have the technology to bring them back to life. But let's talk about what makes this mountain so deadly compared to the others on the list. Not only are you dealing with all the previous dangers that come with climbing tall mountains, but now you must face one of the most challenging and exhausting climbs on Earth. Here, all of the skills you have learned at your local indoor rock climbing gym will be tested, since the mountain is home to the Rupal Face, the deadliest and highest mountain face in the world. It spans over 15,000 feet, with an average slope of 50 degrees. But for hypothetical sake, let's just say you managed to make it up the face. Well, sorry to break it to you, but you would still have another 4 to 6 days of climbing before you reach the summit. And once you snap your little picture and the excitement and euphoria slowly wear off, you will come to the haunting realization that you still have 3 days of descending. Number 2, K2. Again, we take another jump in danger. K2 is located in Pakistan and is the second highest mountain on Earth, only behind Mount Everest. There have only been 377 climbers who have reached its summit, with the mountain claiming the lives of 96 climbers, giving it an enormous 26% fatality rate. But let's get right to it and talk about what makes this mountain so deadly and different from the rest of the 8,000 plus meter mountains. It all comes down to this terrifying section called the bottleneck. And if that doesn't sound scary enough, well, maybe the frozen mummies and skeletons around the site will make you reconsider. Now, of course, this would also be a great time to check your equipment before attempting the deadly section, since this is one of the rare opportunities where you will have the chance to upgrade your gear. To see just how deadly this section can be, we just have to take a look at an incident that occurred in 2008, when 11 climbers lost their lives in an instant due to an ice avalanche. But let's just say you're one of the lucky few who survived all of the dangers and worked your way past the bottleneck. Well, you would still have to climb another section called the Summit Peak, which is yet another challenging stretch that will push you to your physical limits. And if you're one of the very few people to get past this section, you will be rewarded with one of the most beautiful views in the world. But here's the thing, just because you made it to the top of the mountain doesn't mean you're safe. Because the horrifying reality is that roughly 80% of deaths actually occur on the descent, when you are completely exhausted and not thinking straight. Number 1, Annapurna. Deep in Nepal's mountain range sits the deadliest mountain on Earth. The mountain is only the 10th highest mountain on the planet. Now, I know what you're thinking. The deadliest mountain on Earth sounds like a complete pipsqueak. But don't let its height fool you. This challenge is exclusively for professional climbers. And even then, 1/3 of those professional climbers never make it back alive or at all. Annapurna has an enormous 32% fatality rate. There have only been 365 people that have reached the summit, while 72 climbers have lost their lives in the attempt. But let's get right into it and talk about what makes this mountain the deadliest in the world. From the moment you begin your climb out of Camp 1, the mountain will try to kill you. With every step you take, you must remain laser focused, making sure to avoid the hundreds of cracks and gaps in the ice, which could easily take you on the most unexpected slip and slide. Now, if you make it to Camp 2, you will need some much deserved rest. Well, that's if you can even sleep, since avalanches hitting campsites are not uncommon from this point on, and occur at much higher rates than any of the other high mountains. But let's just say you're one of the lucky few who managed to get a good night's sleep and begin to make your way to Camp 3. From here on out, the odds of you running into a storm are very high, since hurricane-level winds, blizzards, and storms are very common and come without warning. And if by some miracle you reach Camp 3, you can rest easy knowing that you were completely surrounded by deep crevasses that don't seem to have an end. This is probably where I would just turn around, as it's starting to not seem worth it. But again, if you happen to make it through the night once more, you will now make your way to the final camp, Camp 4, which will require you to climb a vertical wall of snow and ice. And the dangers of ice avalanches coming down on you and your team are very real. They're actually so common that most climbers are pretty much guaranteed to see at least one. But if by some miracle and stroke of luck, all your hard work pays off and you reach the peak, you will finally be rewarded with one of the most beautiful views in the world. So much so that you can almost say the climb was worth it. Let's start with the dangerous and slowly work our way towards the deadliest ones on the list. Number 6, the Death Pit. The Veryovkina Cave, also known as the Death Pit, is located in Georgia and is the deepest known cave on the planet, extending 2,209 meters. For reference, it could fit around 24 Statues of Liberty inside, or for my European audience, 7 Eiffel Towers. And for the rest of the world, 31,680 Big Macs. There has only been one recorded fatality inside of the cave, but don't let that number fool you. This is one of the most dangerous caves on the planet. As you begin your journey, you will be presented with your first challenge, finding it. Since the entrance to the cave is a small 3x4 meter opening in the middle of nowhere. Once you found the entrance, there will be no warm-up, as you will begin by rappelling down a pitch black vertical drop. But this is just the beginning, as there will be many vertical drops that will continue to take you deeper and deeper into the complex cave system. And as you continue to work your way down, the temperatures will very quickly drop to near freezing, and humidity will skyrocket to 100%, making the limestone walls and floors extremely slippery, adding some much needed comedic relief. But as you work your way from Camp 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally 5, you will have to rappel through freezing waterfalls, squeeze through multiple narrow, twisting tunnels that are barely the size of a human body, and walk through chest-deep, freezing waters. But after 4 days of descending and pure agony, you finally make it to the bottom of the cave, where your guide will take a small sample of dirt, pat you on the back, and instruct you to turn back around, since they got what they came for. Number 5, the Deep Abyss. Krubera Cave is currently the second deepest cave on Earth, but its true size remains unknown, since no one has ever reached its end. The cave has claimed the lives of a few people throughout the years, with the most recent death taking place in 2020. Your journey will once again begin with a Where's Waldo type of game, since you're looking for a small entrance hiding in the vast mountain region of Georgia. Now, there are no official dimensions online about the size of the entrance, but if we take a look at this picture of Rui Chenet standing in it, and Google Chenet's height, which is 5'11", we can easily calculate that the entrance is about 1¼ Rui Chenets in length. Once you're strapped in, you will begin to rappel into the pitch black cave, connecting from line to line, descending for hours on end. One mistake here could cost you your life, sending you free falling past all of your buddies, and ruining the trip. While rappelling down, you will not only be stressed from the descent, but you'll also be in constant fear of overhead rocks falling on your head, since there are many loose rocks. There are 5 camps throughout the cave, all spread 8 hours apart, taking a total of 5 days down and 5 days up to complete. Along the way, you will encounter very tight squeezes that will take all the muscles in your body to get through, slippery limestone walls and floors, and you'll cross the bodies of explorers who once attempted exactly what you are doing now. All this before you even reach Camp 1. From Camp 1 to Camp 5 will be more of the same. Descending in pure darkness, near freezing temperatures, and fighting off extreme exhaustion. But eventually, you will encounter one of the most dangerous parts of the cave. One of the many siphons. These are underwater tunnels that you must swim through on a single breath. A miscalculation here, or losing the guideline, will easily cost you your life. But after 5 days of descending, if you are one of the lucky few to ever go past Camp 5, you will be greeted with a section called the Two Captains Siphon, which is a complete waste of time, since it's completely OP and remains uncharted territory to this day. Number 4, the Cave of Death. The Cave of Death and the Drowning Trap are the nicknames given to the Gouffre Burger Cave in France, one of the deadliest and deepest caves on the planet. Now, at first glance, the cave looks absolutely beautiful. But after turning down the brightness and removing the beauty filter, yeah, just like I thought, it's a complete dump.
Personalized selection based on your needs. Find your ideal hotel, book it easily, and start your perfect journey.
The cave has a depth of over 1,200.